Welcome, everybody, to the energy forecast and discussion for September 21. My name is Jona Bryndis. We will be looking into the forecast of collective energies for September, which means we are not looking into some kind of channelings or clairvoyance. We're looking into observations that have already been made. It is the so-called energy analysis. As a result of this session, I produce an energy alignment every month, which is free on SoundCloud. This month's energy alignment is called Synchronicity of Purpose for you to download. Yeah. So how did August go for you guys? How did this phenomenal manifestation energy that I talked about last month, how did this play out for you? And the theme of the month, August, which was overcoming fear through synergy. There are certain things you cannot meditate away. Yeah, so just because I'm an energy healer, I'm not going to say, oh, you can heal everything with energy. That's not the case, because there's a lot of situations and things in our life that can violate our boundaries, that can violate our understanding, our values of love and relationship, or like how humans should be, or that can violate our understanding of health, where we have to step up, where by not stepping up, by not saying no, by not saying here is a boundary, we need to renegotiate this, we become silently complicit. And when we become silently complicit, guys, our spiritual health is in danger, also our energetic health, simply because what we then have to deal with is this inner schism, the inner cognitive dissonance that we now have as a result of us not standing by ourselves, not saying yes to ourselves. And that can sometimes create more damage, more long-term damage. Because if you think about it, the things that we need to be confident, to be able to trust in ourselves, to know that when you're fully present and you make very conscious choices, that this is what drives you forward and not conformism or trying to please other people. Yeah, then we can see the greater purpose of things. The greater purpose of things will never reveal itself to us if we are basically just trying to avoid conflicts or confrontations. Yeah, so when it comes to purpose and meaning in life, the only way to discover them is interrelational, which means in relation to others or to the outside world, which means we have to learn to interact with the outside world. And sometimes this means that we have to avoid places that are toxic, yeah, or people that are poisonous, yeah, or work places or relationships that are really unhealthy for us, or foods or habits and addictions that really kill ourselves slowly. Yeah, so that's a boundary that you cannot out vibrate that by checking out or avoiding, maybe having to refrain from something, or having to turn something down, or having to set or enforce a boundary. It was a very rich month in terms of the right time, the right space, and knowing where to get the empowerment, the medicine from within. A very healing month. And there is a certain synchronicity coming toward us here in September that will have a bunch of collective effects, meaning that people will respond to this in different ways. Whereas in August, we already felt this, sort of bifurcated expression. For some people, this was a wonderful month, yeah, with these great new insights and successes. And for other people, it was a very, very difficult month. And this will further split. This bifurcation will go on now till January, meaning that some of these split realities that we are experiencing in the world, the division, the separation that we are experiencing in this world, that this will further progress, and therefore also make, in the collective events, in the current events, and make this become more prevalent, more expressed. So yeah, and this can and will, especially in September, also affect our relationships and people that we choose to be surrounded with, yeah, including jobs or co-workers, yeah, or projects. Purpose reveals itself as what karmic cycle can be undone through this experience. And that's why a lot of the things that we are experiencing in September will have to do with relationships and jobs. Yeah. What am I learning here? Even if, you know, whether it's painful or joyful, doesn't matter. Yeah. What it has to do with progress in a way, even though we may feel at first that it's a crisis. But what is being undone here? What am I being forced to heal through this experience? In this energetic analysis shows that there is a sort of a purge energy in September based on a reality check, you know, most likely, you know, revelation of new data, new things, I mean, it's like literally every day right now. So that's not a surprise, but there's a purge component to this. And that means that there's a big release that needs to come. There is a sort of a collapse of the false self also that will be quite challenging for us. See, those of us who have been working on this for a while, we don't need to be afraid of this because we've already done this for years, okay, to really look at these aspects of these hidden aspects of ourselves and the secondary gains and the ego payoff and stuff like that. You know, but for the majority of people out there, okay, we're talking like 85%, and don't forget that. You know, just because you have gone through this and you feel sort of rock solid, okay, doesn't mean that you know, are unaffected, because the majority of people out there that surround you, whether it be at work, on traffic, you know, in some kind of social situations, or, you know, in more global, you know, economy, financial markets, and so forth. Those are all people too. Those are all humans too, right? When they experience this fall from the ivory tower, this collapse of the false self, that ain't funny. Yeah, and there's a lot of things that can happen here. Another aspect, it's actually a sub aspect of that, is you know, to the collapse of that victim specialness, yeah, and self-pity that comes with it. Oh, my pain is worse than everybody else's pain. This will all be leveled out in September, trust me. Yeah, nobody's pain is more special than other people's pain. Yeah, because subjectively, it doesn't matter if it's you know, your lollipop that was taken away, your a girlfriend or boyfriend who betrayed you, or you lost a job, or you just had a baby. Okay, you know, there are certain ways of looking at things in a different way that allow you to recognize that, you know, people are subjectively experiencing their pain as the worst, but that doesn't mean anything. The only true meaning pain really has becomes visible to us when we share our pain. And then something beautiful happens. It's the synergy that I mentioned earlier. When we share our pain, and, you know, instead of trying to hide it or avoid it, or, you know, pretend it's not there, what happens is that other people who experience the same or similar pain, that it opens things up for them as well. And we experience something that energetically we call, you know, this resonance. As something happens, and in this resonance, guys, the vibe, yeah, the vibrational energy of this interaction then lifts everything up. Yeah, it's like I mean, the true definition of synergy, really, you know, it's more than the sum of two. It's what happens when this comes together. There is an enormous power in this coming together. Challenge also here, aimlessness. This has to do with people feeling a lack of purpose, lack of meaning, not being able to make sense of things. I talked about this in the last energy update, how dangerous that is in September. One thing, this is you know, relating to the energetic aspects, but this is how it's actually going to play out, is that we will feel that we have no breathing space. And this can be literal and this can be symbolic. Breathing space maybe in the sense of feeling infringed upon, feeling forced to be doing things, feeling boundaries overstepped, or breathing space actually in the actual literal sense of the word, not really, you know, being able to breathe right, feeling something like a restriction in your diaphragm, in your rib area. I read the most recent studies today, and that's indicating that 32%, more than 32% of people who've had COVID actually experiencing those COVID long haul symptoms. And the one that is most prevalent is the shortness of breath. And the interesting part of that is, and these will be the consecutive studies, because right now there's only correlations, but it looks like that people who have been vaccinated, that they seem to have similar symptoms like people who like long haul COVID long haulers. In other words, there's something here that right now collectively restricts our breathing space. And I've mentioned this many times. It has to do with life force and the conversion within ourselves that is restricted right now. Many of us are going to be challenged by their own unhealed healer aspects, which means you know, we have to deal with anything from people pleasing to trying to comfort others and fulfilling other people's needs in sort of relation to our own needs. So it's very, very important that we prioritize correctly in September, and you'll see why. Yes, the control and infringement aspects, they are linked to the breathing space, but pretty much these are all linked with another. White shadow clearing is going to be very intense this month. Just real quick as a reminder, white shadow is not the obvious thing that we cannot love about ourselves. White shadow is actually the part of us where we think we're doing a good job, where we think we're like all shiny and squeaky clean, and we're doing this just, you know, because we're such a good person, or just because I love you, or just blah, blah, blah. If we are not fully honest with ourselves, this can be a huge ego trap, okay? Because sometimes, actually, in terms of white shadow, always, white shadow is a dark trait, a one that is really, really hard to discover because it looks good on the outside, yeah? So this points at sort of fakeness and pretense. But sometimes white shadow is completely unaware to us. It's not that we're consciously faking something. It is just something where we think this is the way we need to show up, or where we think that is the way, the better way, or the higher route. Okay, so it's very, very tricky. For those of us here working on the deeper aspects of ego, this will accompany you guys longer, because these are the white shadow aspects are much harder to detect. And of course, escapism and spiritual laziness. The aforementioned spiritual fanaticism, you know, doesn't just apply to religions. It can also apply to New Age. I've been warning you about this for a long time already. Now, the opportunities that are in here in these challenges, if you will, in these energies from September, is that September actually comes with a very strong sort of renewal, new beginning. And sometimes that will come through catharsis, meaning through a crisis. And sometimes if you can take this full frontal, if you can say, okay, I can feel this in me. Yes, it may feel like a risk, but I'm going to do this because I need to be true to myself. There is nothing more important in this life than being true to myself. And that is then basically the springboard for a whole new reality. It's like this quantum leap momentum that you will feel in September. New courage through self-awareness. It's really good timing for everybody to start their deeper spiritual journey. For one, because there's a lot of confusion out there, And you know, this purpose seeking and trying to make sense of things is driving people into the spiritual and religious organizations that are very questionable right now, and you know, that are sort of offering some kind of rescue, or you know, aliens, or you know, whatever, political figures, you know, or second comings. This is not the purpose of this. The purpose of us, yeah, due to the power of our consciousness, which is individuated, okay, is to realize what it is that we came here for as individuated soul selves. Yeah. So there is a really, really beautiful opportunity for true healing. Yeah. And with it, you know, true growth. Yeah. Through spiritual development. Who would have thought? But there is an even growing body of people in medicine, in psychology, acknowledging that without spiritual contextualization, some things cannot be overcome in a healthy way. We need spirituality on some level, not religion. Religion is organized spirituality. Yeah, this is like a political party, if you will. But we need spirituality, preferably the one that comes from within ourselves, where we actually recognize that there is a higher power out there. Yeah, and we don't have to, like, you know, worship a statue or something like this. We can if we want to, if we understand that this higher power actually acts within and through us, right? That this individuated consciousness that we have, that is this divine higher power, yeah, in us, holographically, so to speak. Yeah, and that by acting according to it and embodying it, we are growing into our higher purpose. That is what true spirituality means. It doesn't have anything to do with how you contextualize it. If you contextualize it with a book that is 2,000 years old or 600 years old or 4,000 or 3,500 years old, it doesn't really matter. Or 8,000 years old. Yeah, there's traditions all over the place. But when it comes to self-healing, guys, traditions and ceremonies and spiritual settings, yeah, spiritual context will be what will really help us in this month and the coming months, where we're going to see a bit of a collapse here of this global shadow. Yeah. Another opportunity is this experience of new life force through trust and self, and I'll go into this in a bit more detail here in a minute, through learning how to control our own vibrational energies a lot better. Yes, and you guys have already figured this out. There's a walking the talk component in this sort of task that we all have right now. Yeah, when we talk about embodiment, when we talk about being true to ourselves, saying yes to our true selves and so forth, all that has to do with being serious, making this a conscious choice. Yeah, and positive side effect will be that we will be able to dissolve very, very old patterns. You know, sometimes even those that aren't even from this lifetime. Self-healing tasks for this month are a very important discipline of mind and thoughts. There is a lot of overlay in regards to our thought and value programming that's coming from the outside, but not just through media, guys. It's very important. I mean, you know, when I say media, I don't just mean mainstream media and news. I also mean music. I also mean the arts, movies, and fashion and all these kind of things. Yeah, they all contribute to this programming, but we are all primed in a certain way, and that's been going on for much longer. Yeah, this priming is usually expressed in our fixation on the external, on the material. And when I say fixation on material, I don't just mean money. You know, when a person sees themselves as a bag of flesh, as you know, a bunch of cells and a DNA and some programs and treats the human brain or the human consciousness like a computer, and sees you know, human life as something machine-like, all right, that too is a fixation on the material. And that is something that I've often referred to as one of the two darknesses. You can look this up in the other YouTube videos, the explainer YouTube videos here on the channel. Yeah, so we have been primed for that, but probably the easiest way to detect that is in this orientation towards having, getting, needing, and owning. Yeah, believing that whatever it is that you're trying to avoid, or whatever it is that you're not getting, whatever it is that you kind of think you need, and this includes dopamine, this includes excitement, adrenaline, you know, the quick fix for things through, you know, and you fill in the blank, be it, you know, getting new clothes, new house, new sneakers, you know, better job, a drug, you know, more likes on Facebook or whatever. Yeah, we need to form a discipline here. Many of you know this. I'm a martial artist at heart, and often my kids were, they're all in martial arts, and people often ask me, well, don't you think it's too violent and blah blah blah. I'm like, no, on the contrary. All right, by teaching kids how to yield, how to harness all of this, how to regulate themselves physically, and how to know, you know, when is what appropriate, and train themselves to train the right muscle memory to you know, have a good stance and not be too shocked when there is a little bit of impact, yeah, to form resilience in a certain way. They can make much better decisions. They can be calm in situations that stress other people, and you know, they can think of strategies that they can calm other people down. They can really have this super healing and super sort of common effect on others. And that's why I'm a big proponent of martial arts, because it teaches a person how to work with these energies. So it's not violent, it actually prevents violence. And if you look at that, if you look at energy work, for example, as something similar, yeah, for me, it's like the martial arts of harnessing our energies, our life force, yeah, then you'll understand it. There's also a connection, obviously, with martial arts and energy work. There's famous examples, you know, Bruce Lee and so forth, who and Tai Chi masters and so forth, who really don't use any physical contact or any physical impact whatsoever, you know, to protect themselves or to defeat somebody. So it's the discipline, and the discipline comes through training and through really sort of regimen, you know, through, you know, systematic energy management, but also holistic health regimens. Yeah, we have to like really put ourselves into a place that allows us to deal with stuff, to be resilient. Yeah, and this starts with nutrition and it ends with energy work. So pacing and prioritizing, very important in this month. This month has a lot to do with rhythms, hence there's a synchronicity component here, and for many of us, we'll find that the most effective way to really find sort of this power back, this center within ourselves, is through stillness and even prayer. It's the reason why I'm starting with daily energy prayers on YouTube Live on Monday, which you guys are all invited to come. It's a live event that happens every day at the same time at 11:30 Eastern US time. So that's like a late afternoon in Europe, and right around, I think, early afternoon. I might be completely off here, maybe noon or late morning in Australia. You know, every day at the same time. Yeah, because this is for September the most effective self-healing resonance that I could come up with, and I'm going to show you here why that is the case. It's really about finding our center, and again, as I mentioned before, the spiritual center, the karmic purpose reveals itself through that. And when somebody, I want to say, identifies that karmic purpose, there is a huge relief. There's a huge healing momentum that occurs. In that moment, you look back on your life and you see all the things that you couldn't see before, and you're seeing them now, but you no longer feel the need to beat yourself up. You understand, and you have compassion for yourself and for all the people involved in all of this, and you realize that everything had to be the way it was for you to arrive at this moment here with this level of consciousness. Yeah. And then these things like saying yes to your true self and your needs and your wants and all this becomes easy. Becoming real is then basically sort of your new MO. You can't do any different, because if you do, once you've aligned yourself to truth, to your inner truth, you know, it's painful if you lie to yourself, or if you fake it, or if you're not congruent, if you're inauthentic. Yeah, Cindy, it's that stillness. Yeah, I could hear this in your sharing earlier, that that's what you meant. So purpose finds you when you say yes to your true self. This is a bit of a mind bender, because we're so programmed, so conditioned to seek purpose. Yeah, it's the other way around, guys. I talk about it a lot. Yeah. Your journey is not about becoming better at finding your purpose, but getting better at letting go of what's in the way of feeling your purpose. Yeah, these blocks that we've talked about earlier. Here, just like really, really quick, guys, because we're running out of time as always. Some of the collective developments in September. We're looking at possible lockdowns. Some areas will be more affected than other areas, obviously. You know, because there's a sort of a timely delay in our countries and our continents in regards to like these COVID waves, and also has to do with our infrastructure and our political system and so forth. But there'll be substantial lockdowns, and there'll be substantial unrest coming in this month. Very, very visual, very clear, all over the news. People enraged, sometimes about the lockdowns, sometimes about not having lockdowns, sometimes about face masks, sometimes about not wanting to have face masks. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like yeah, almost crazy. Yeah, because it really seems that people just really need to find an outlet to let go of all this stress that they have been holding in all this time, with having been promised things, with having been told that everything's going to be fine, everything is going to go back to normal and so forth. September is a month that, you know, that will bring so many revelations, data and so forth, that it will be clear now that it isn't going to be that way. It isn't that easy that we can just make things go away. We're going to have to learn to live with it, to work with it. Yes, it's a relief. It's a release valve in September. Yeah, that's right, Justine. Therefore, I recommend all of you to have to form a certain kind of readiness for this. And when I say readiness, I picked this word on purpose. I did not want to say preparedness, because when I say preparedness, at least here in the United States, people think of like, you know, digging a bunker and getting food for a year. This is not what I'm talking about. What I mean is you really being ready to be okay with that. Yeah, to be okay with, you know, maybe some foods that you normally eat, that you can't have them for a while, or that they're like double the price than they normally are, or, you know, some people just kind of disappearing out of your life because they're you know, they're somewhere else, that they're dealing with something, that things you know, at work may escalate a little more pressure will be felt there in regards to a bunch of different things. not just the vaccines, guys. This goes farther. You got to understand that that's just the beginning. Okay. So you got to be ready to step out if something is unhealthy for you. This is your promise to your own soul self. This is what guides you into your purpose. To at least say no to what you know isn't true or isn't healthy for you. You don't have to have the fix or the solution. You just need to know when to say no. And I'm not referring to vaccines here, don't get me wrong. If everybody has to make that decision based on their inner true self, okay? And that has to do with being fully conscious, aware, and awake when you make that decision. Not because you're pressured, not because all your friends are calling you names, or you get kicked out of a party or whatever. These things are all happening right now, and for people who are feeling all of this on this energetic level and empathically, it's terrible right now. So what I mean is, be ready, to refrain from things. Be ready to be okay to, not have movie theaters for another year. Be okay with your favorite restaurant not being open or just really restricted. Be okay with, not being able to go to the mall or taking a vacation this year. Okay. This is what I mean with that. There are elements of financial markets responding strongly this month. Yeah, let me say this diplomatically. So readiness can also occur in the way that we start rethinking our strategy here, how we are making money. Yeah, and if this is really what we want to do, there is a new course starting here at transCODES in how to actually turn, you wanting to help people, you wanting to, become someone who serves others into a business, and how to do this successfully as an energetically sensitive, empathic person, because there are certain things in regards to sales and marketing that will not work for you. Yeah. So just on a side note here, there's this 10-year anniversary discount that I'm giving right now that is running out on the 31st of August. Lots of discoveries. This is on a positive note here. Actually really, really cool things. What I'm seeing right now is COVID long hauler medicines that will lead to other new discoveries that will help us to deal with, COVID stuff, but not just COVID stuff, also new discoveries about viruses altogether. I've been indicating this to you, that there is a lot about the human virome that is being discovered right now. So in the end, we'll look back to this time and say, yes, this was a tough time. This was a difficult time, but so much good came out of this time. This is starting this month. So there's also positive developments there. They might not be fully visible for us right away. Increased vibrations, and that, unfortunately, for someone who doesn't quite understand how energies work, often misunderstood. Increased vibration doesn't mean all good. Increased vibrations means more polarization. It means that there is a stronger impact of that, whether that be through planetary influences, so very, very strong planetary influences that affect our rhythms here on this planet, that also have to do with the Earth's changes and weather changes. Okay, you barely ever hear me talk about climate change because I'm not seeing it that way. All right, I'm seeing planetary influences, and I'm seeing spiritual influences that affect the rhythms of the Earth. Yeah, and last but not least, an alienation that is continuing here amongst us, which hints at the separation and division between us, the bifurcation, but with a twist this month. I'm not going through the individual layers. I'm just showing you the slides. You can look at this in the video and stop the video here because at this point it feels redundant. I just want to quickly point at the energetic aspects where we will feel this. We'll feel this very strongly about our first and seventh chakra, our root and our crown. I've explained a few things earlier, why this is relevant, because it messes with our perception. It messes with our perception of ourself, of life itself, and our own sort of, yeah, I mean, purpose, meaning of life, I guess, and security, like how we feel secure within ourselves. It will also affect our second and fourth chakra. That's our emotional processing, and you know, how we contextualize connection. We need to focus more on connection, because we'll find out quickly that whenever we connect with other people and connect deeper within, that we will start feeling things dissolve. All right. Strong resistance here between, you know, in that membrane between the second and third chakra creates catharsis, a healing crisis. In other words, the collapse. That's the collapse of the false self that I've mentioned too. That's what this looks like. There is another membrane between the third and the fourth, which is not the same. This one is more emotional. So September indicates that we're dealing with quite a few ragey energies. This is just a reference here for you, as I am continuing to speak about vibrational levels here for a minute. This is what it looks like here on the map of consciousness, the calibrated levels of consciousness by Dr. Hawkins. The energies for September are calibrating right here below fear. This is sort of a desperation kind of energy that also reminds of loss and grief. And this sort of between anger and pride, which is this rage and sort of vengeance kind of energy. That's a very low, very strong gravity this month. And at the same time, and this is the cool part here, this is what makes people like me optimistic, really, really strong energy in regards to love and compassion. Yeah, what can happen with us humans when we encounter each other in crisis together, when we come together and heal together. It is the reason for me to start these energy prayers that we do every day, very quickly, not much talk, you know, just coming together, quick exchange of how we're feeling, and, you know, maybe listening to one sharing and then going into prayer together. Very similar to how church groups would do this, just without, you know, the churchy stuff. Okay, so for people who believe in God or a higher power, no matter what religion you're from, it doesn't contradict anything. We just literally, you know, aligning ourselves to this higher power that brought us into existence, the source of all existence. Okay, and that is evident. It doesn't matter what you name it. Yeah, it's there, and that's not woo. All right, and to understand this better, yeah, here at transCODES, that's, or, you know, my body of work is all about this. Okay, every single modality out of my 52 modalities, and you know, all the different courses and so forth that I've created, they all are about this. But I want to spell this out. What is creating, what activities are creating low vibrations, and what activities are creating high vibrations? And when I say activities, I'm not necessarily saying that you're actively doing this, but if you find yourselves in these states in a prolonged time, and energize them. How do we energize those states? We've learned this earlier, through resistance, through avoidance. Yeah, and sometimes even, you know, thinking that we're doing spiritual work, trying to meditate things away. It's still energizing lower vibratory energies, because all we can think about is how to make this go away. Yeah, if this is your attachment, you don't want to feel this, then you're energizing it. It needs to be very clear to everybody. This is conscious energy management. That's why I get so intense when I talk about this. Yeah, and what is this? Fatigue, fear, nervous tension, rage, hate. These are the obvious. But avoidance, irritation, noise, pride, superiority, blame, That's not so much aware to people, that these are very low vibratory resonances. And when we energize them, or when we entertain them, even if we just ingest them by proximity, we're lowering our vibration, that of our body, that of our immune system, that of our etheric immune system, and we become more susceptible, not just to viruses, yes, also to viruses, but also to negative energies from other people, negative energies from the collective that you're in, from the job site, from the relationship. Yeah, you're more likely to absorb all of this and become it. And as a result of that, also see the manifestations of it in your life. The manifestations of lower vibrations. And that has to do with resonance. You can only understand this if you see things in a more sort of field way. You know, you look at things as fields. You know, for me personally, the best comparison is always with weather areas, with high pressure and low pressure areas. It's not one point, it's a whole field. Yeah, and that field can either expand or contract. And you know, there's a sort of a battle of resonances going on between high pressure and low pressure areas. Yeah, if you for example, know what a hurricane or typhoon is, okay, it's literally a concentration of low pressure area, okay, and that basically sucks in everything that is around it and creates this huge big steering pot. Yeah, and high pressure areas push clouds away. They push, you know, all the bad weather away and create clear skies and sunlight. And that's, you know, what you maybe how you can see, how you can contextualize energies. They work in the same way within us, around us, and through us. High vibrations are states or activities that energize generosity. Yeah, giving things, doing things for others, serving others, caring for something outside of yourself. Gratitude, expressing your gratitude towards other people, even towards, you know, the bird and the bees and the flies, yeah, the trees or the you know, whatever, you know, your dog or animals or whatever, you know, these nature spirits and, you know, maybe even, you know, spirit beings. Many of you like to believe in angels in some form, and not saying that they're not true. I have made a lot of lectures about angels on my YouTube channel. Yeah, so, you know, gratitude, express your gratitude towards this higher power, towards, you know, this spiritual world. You are a spiritual being. You are a soul. A soul is a spiritual being with a physical body. All right, where do you think you're from? Yeah, if it's not your body, that means you're from the spiritual realm. That's your home. You think that there's nothing going on while you were here on 3D? Think about that. We've talked a little bit about this in the last workshop. Yeah, this alignment to the spirit realm, not astral. That's different. That's like the fantasy of people, magic, Wicca, all these kind of things, guys, is all lower vibratory stuff. Yeah, I don't want to go deeper into this here right now. Compassion. Yeah, this can be expressed as compassion towards ourselves or others. Neutrality, one of the most difficult to find commodities these days. To be neutral, to not get polarized, to not blame, to not bicker about things, to not point fingers or accuse people. It doesn't matter, guys. You know, you can have your opinions, you can have your disagreements, but when somebody is in truth, you automatically stand in neutrality with things. That doesn't mean that you're dissociated, that you're disconnected from what is going on. No, you can still feel a lot of compassion, you can have empathy and so forth. But it means that you are not pulled into either direction. Yeah, neither attached nor are you resisting something. Love and compassion for all living beings, guys, is a very high vibratory resonance for all living beings. And things that are not so obvious for people, for example, beauty. And I don't mean pretty, I mean beauty, like, you know, the beauty that a flower has, the beauty that a bowl of fruits, or, you know, a bouquet of flower has, something that is innately beautiful, and we can all feel this in our system, in our body. Trust in self. Guess what? Self-doubt, self-berating, self-judgment is extremely low vibratory stuff. Yeah. Ranges here from self-hatred to self-blame, even superiority with yourself. Very low vibratory. So trust in self, saying yes to yourself and learning to trust in yourself. Also saying no to what is unhealthy, yes, and setting your boundaries and enforcing them in conjunction with others is also something that helps you to trust in yourself and the other. Body love. I've explained this on occasion. Body love is the love that you feel, the attitude towards your own body. Yes, you're a spirit being, yes, but that doesn't mean that you can neglect your body. Your body is your vehicle here. It is basically sort of the pinnacle of physical 3D creation. There's nothing on this planet that is, you know, as complex and evolved as the human body, including its consciousness. Yes, there are animals out there that are equally high evolutionary on their species ladder, okay? But we are not just the higher evolved animals. What we share here, this individuated conscious self, yeah, the ability to witness our own soul self, that is unique to us humans, guys. And the body carries this, it houses it. So we need to take care of that. We need to love our body here in this incarnation. Forgiveness for self and others. It is easy to forgive when you understand the purpose in your life, and when you look back and you recognize how much you couldn't see before. And it's even easier to forgive yourself for future transgressions, if you will, because you then understand that your ego mind, you know, the part in you that produces this kind of reality, yeah, what appears or what seems to be in a certain way, that's valuable. Yeah, and you know that there will always be things that you are not able to see, or temporarily not able to see because you're blocked there somehow by your subconscious. Yeah, you will understand that, and forgiveness will be no problem for you because you can see this in others. You see the true self in others. You see the struggling true self in others. You see the hurt true self. You see the false self in others, and it's easy to forgive because you know that this too is a soul trying to grow into this higher expression of embodiment. Yeah, and all it means is that this person is on a different timeline, so it may take a bunch more years for this person, maybe a bunch more timelines, lifetimes. Reason has to do with consciousness, yeah, not with mentalism. To be able to reason is not the same as sort of intellectual debate. Reason has to do with really having your own thoughts, freely thinking, freely questioning and investigating things based on how you do to your own heart, mind's capability, see things and ask yourself, I wonder why that is. I wonder why it feels this way to me right now. I wonder, you know, what else is there? What am I actually afraid of? Is there something that, you know, I need to look at? Is there something I'm not seeing? You know, this sort of conscious self-reporting investigation is not the same as turning every stone and you know, trying to be perfect and beating yourself up for making a mistake. Yeah, it's something different. It's much higher vibratory rate, and so is joy. You know, pleasure, where, you know, we just want the next high and the next hit. You know, dopamine, adrenaline. You know, just going from one, you know, sort of pleasure to the next. That is not joy. that is something that is supposed to help us through, being able to deal with an emotion. Yeah, it's something that's supposed to just get us through for the moment of trauma. But if we become addicted to pleasure, we are never actually dealing with it, which means that we are driving and re-traumatizing ourselves deeper and deeper into the pain. Yeah, that's why addictions never work. And the biggest or most difficult addiction that we're all up against as humans here in this 3D is the addiction to ego, because ego is supposed to make us feel good. Yeah, in times when, we don't know who we are. All right. And at the time, this might be the best thing to do. But then a day later, it might not be the best because you have learned something and need to adjust that. And ego has that gravity into, what's most familiar. That's why it's so susceptible to mind control and programming. One of the highest vibratory energies that we can actively align ourselves through our behavior, through our actions here in this life, in this 3D love, is community prayer. Yeah, healing together. Yeah, helping another, serving another. So here, the short version for all of you who don't want to listen to 1.5 hours of talk about, the deeper aspects of, what actually is happening here underneath the surface of mainstream media and so forth. Quick word in regards to crypto energies, because a lot of people ask me about this. Many energetically sensitive people feel attracted to the cryptocurrency, the blockchain market, because they recognize that there are things going on that allow certain higher levels of freedom and self-sustainability within reason. Obviously, there's dark sides to that as well. September is going to be a big FOMO month, fear of missing out, meaning that we're looking at quite a bit of volatility, but towards the positive side. So there really is something bigger now sort of setting in by like the 20th of September. I think we'll see that we can call this, something like a sustainable upward movement until the end of the year, actually the beginning of January, like 14th of January, for sure. Also a really good season for altcoins, but you have to be careful because with FOMO, yeah, with the fear of missing out, there's a lot of greed in that market. And whenever there's greed in the market, there comes this fear. Yeah, actually fear of missing out. Yeah, greed, in fact, is a fear. Okay, it can be very volatile. So many of you have started to join the cryptocurrency market like 4 or 5 years ago when I started talking about it, doing webinars and so forth. If you started then, when Bitcoin was $1,000 or $2,000 or $6,000, or even when you started when it was $19,000, and you just stuck with it, like I recommended back then, you don't need to worry about anything. Those of you who are speculating a lot, you need to be careful in September because a lot of people will be speculating. And in that, it will take on the same sort of, I want to say, dynamics as you see on Wall Street and the other financial markets. So the financial markets are going to rattle in September. Here a few important dates. Lots of confusion, lots of new data that will be very, very confusing. And sometimes you really don't know what's going on because you see this, and then on the other hand, everybody else is talking about something else. And it's like you question your own perception if you even saw it. I went through this in the end of July. I was like, okay, here's the data we've been waiting for. Okay, well, wait, nobody's seeing that? Did I just make this up? And I had to like literally go back and copy all the links of the medical studies that I've read, and list them for myself, to prove to myself that these studies actually exist because everybody's ignoring them. Yeah, this will continue here. throughout the month. Actually, it's a big month of revelations, and really hard to understand sometimes, because we will be in such a state of confusion in the media that you really won't be able to tell anymore. It's best to stay away from mainstream media. Here to the third part of the month, I called it media was the theme of the year. Go back to my forecasts for 21, forecast 21 till 23. Now all of what I said back then makes sense. You see it now. Anyway, yeah, around the 6th of the month, this is kind of periodic here, but very, very strong this month, right before the new moon energies are setting in. There is these purge energies, these cathartic release energies. Yeah, there's some countries that will be more affected by this. Right now, I can only say I've mentioned this in one of the energy updates already. Germany is going through something there. It's very interesting for me. Many of you know I went to school and university in Germany, hence my German accent. Australia as well, Canada as well. So you're going to see a bunch of things coming down now here in these this first week or two in September, and then it will be kind of like a domino roll and build through all our collectives. So this escalation phase here till the middle of the month is something that you can use to get your ducks in row. If you have been contemplating about making some big changes in your life, making a decision, leaving your husband or quitting your job or whatever, or your job is pressuring you too much or whatever, this would be the time to make an active step forward so that you don't feel that it's happening to you. Yeah, so the first 2 weeks of September you want to use for active steps, because that will make you feel you're in charge. Okay. After that, so after around the 16th, which is actually a really positive energy. It's really sort of increase in these manifestation energies, so things will speed up. Okay, but if there was something going on where things are very bifurcated, then it can always mean both. And the way things are right now, I'm expecting things such as, yeah, terror attacks. I mean, let me say it out loud. I don't want to scare you guys, but there is stuff going on. Okay, it will come to these releases in the world, not like we're all gonna die, but things that will really become like, okay, shit's on. Yeah, so understand that by the time we have a full moon, which is the 21st, and these are these periodicals every month, with full moon and new moon intensities, we'll be looking at quite a bit going on there in our media. And this month is very particular because we're looking at the equinox, which is, the time of the year where darkness and light basically stand against another in equal powers, so to speak, yeah, day and night. Here in the northern hemisphere where it gets darker again, and in the southern hemisphere where it gets brighter again. And then, we're going to have some stuff come up there in that time. Yeah, like more pressure, more escalation, arrests. Don't know what that is exactly, but that's how it comes forward. And then we're going to come into the end of the month with a very harmonic impulse. And for many of us, it will really bring us together. So there's beautiful aspects of this. Yeah, it's not just all doom and gloom. I want you to see that we as humans have an enormous power when we come together. Yeah, the only thing that can make us powerless is when we feel separated and alone, and that's why we need to stop that. We need to stop that within ourselves, that we feel alone. You see, we can reinforce this with ourselves through, talking to our true self as sort of the intermediary, the connector with the translator with higher power. Help me and remind me to stay awake and aware so I can see through the distractions of fear and loss. Soul purpose shines through in how much love you can express. Here at transCODES, we're going to investigate this further, something very, very beautiful here starting tomorrow morning, the Grace Redemption Marathon, a 72-hour energy work marathon, not an easy undertaking. We do this every month for those of you who really want to go deep. Very, very cool experiences that people have there. We're doing this together. It's open for everybody. You can sign up for it. And starting on Saturday, the daily energy prayers on YouTube. Yeah, sign up. Easiest way for you to get reminders is to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because every time I go live, you're going to get a reminder, that it's going on right now. Yes, and last but not least, due to me celebrating 10-year anniversary of transCODES True Self transmissions, those are the free energy sessions that I do every month. 10 years, long time. I could never imagine where this would lead me. One day I'm giving away lots of discounts and specials, one of which is the Heart Warrior Bootcamp, a very popular 3-month program that I have for 50% off, starting for it's 3 months, so basically September, October, November, because I recognize that this time really wakes people up. And if you are feeling this, then check this out, because it's only really half the price of what it normally is. Those of you who want to turn this into profession, who want to learn how to turn this into something like a coaching business or a remote consulting business, there's the discount on the energy, the business and development course, and then a new course coming out in September called the Energy Course, which teaches the deeper aspects of energy work. These are all discounted specials that I have here to celebrate my 10-year anniversary. And all this concludes the forecast. We're running out of time, so I can't really do a longer discussion with you here, but I can send my gratitude and appreciation to all of you who have worked with transCODES, with supported transCODES in your ways. There's so many volunteers amongst you that do daily meditations using transCODES meditations, in so many different ways, that a big part of this success is contributed to you. Yeah, without you, I would have never been able to do this. So thank you to all of you here, to all of you coming to these live sharings, and who not being afraid of coming out of the woodwork and recognizing the healing power and coming in together in this way. Yes, guys, I'm wishing you a wonderful September. I hope to see you guys in one or the other session or workshop. Yeah, don't forget to ask for a free energy coaching consultation with me if you've never had one, where we can work something like a roadmap for you, how to approach things, and yeah, come to the free sessions if you don't have the money to work directly with me. Love you guys. Wishing you a wonderful month. Bye.